right, we're here, everybody. Finally, the Cap'n Kirk Show is back. I've been missing you. Hopefully, you've missed me. Got a new podcastie here with us. Tenacious.
Hi.
And that's short for Tenacious T.
It's a lot shorter.
Sometime I might call her T, sometime Tenacious. But she is awesome. And we have our original and great sound man, Mr. Porter. And he also adds to he's a podcastie, sound man, technician.
Well, hello, and thank you for saying I add to the show.
He adds and he subtracts.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's about right.
Just like me. I'm usually the biggest subtraction of the show.
I'm quite a drain.
Yes. So we're doing a podcast on Eddie Van Halen and the band Van Halen. And it's what a shame he died at 65 years young. Oh, about 30, 40 years ago. Wow, I'd hear of somebody that was 65 years old. That was an old man. Mm-hmm. Guess what? That's not very old anymore.
And why do we think that, Captain?
Why? I don't know, but I tell you, I'm a lot younger than I think I am.
Okay.
And we're just so excited to have Tenacious here with us.
Well, thank you. I feel honored.
She's a good friend of mine and a friend of my son's. I almost said a friend of mine. Yeah, my son's a friend too. But so happy to have you here. Well, who turned the heat on in here? It's too hot now. Anyways,
Feeling the pressure?
we are, it must be that stage light. We are trying to do our first YouTube video where we actually film ourselves during the podcast. Hey, everybody. Am I there? Maybe. And so, I mean, Eddie Van Halen, this song, you know, Running with the Devil, it was definitely a big hit. It was not their first hit. We're going to play their first hit next. But I loved the start to Running with the Devil, so I had the sound man mix up the tape and put this first.
Excellent
Yes,
choice.
I did.
And he did mix up the tape. So, Tenacious T is interesting because although she's heard a few Van Halen songs, it's probably been very few.
Yeah, are they my favorite band of all time? No, but are they iconic and legendary when you think of classic rock? Absolutely. So I think probably some of their bigger radio hits are well known to everybody. But like that Running with the Devil one I just listened to today.
Awesome.
So.
Well, cool. That brings us right into this song, which is called Eruption. Now, I never knew Eruption had its own name because it goes into, I thought it was all one song, You Really Got Me, which is a cover of the Kinks, one of my most favoritist of bands. This song, You Really Got Me, from the Kinks, was many have said that is when hard rock became. The Kinks actually cracked their their speakers to give them a really distorted sound, and then they played harder on You Really Got Me than any of their other songs. And then back in 65, you had the Beatles singing I Want to Hold Your Hand. And You Really Got Me took the world by a storm. It did not take long for all kinds of bands to go heavier. So that's cool. And Van Halen started out playing covers. Yeah, they had their own music, but they were playing in bars and playing all over. And in 76, they'd be doing covers of the Kinks, now excuse me, when we aren't filming and my notes are a mess, it's easier to deal with. But what other bands? So here's the song. Those two go together on the radio, and I always just thought, that's the start to You Really Got Me. But it had its name,
its
Eruption.
very own
Yes.
an instrumental track.
Yes. And that was Mr. Porter chiming in. And we don't know who.
I really wasn't chiming in
They-
because that's too far away.
I heard it. So, yep.
Do you think it hurts an original band's feelings when the cover comes out and is better or more adored?
No, they get too good a royalty.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
so they
it's
eat it up, huh?
There's probably a few. It's probably a bittersweet, but not. It's more sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
It gets sweeter every year after too.
I see. Yeah.
I guess later I'll talk about who they did covers with because it's not working out for me now. As usual,
You
my
lost your
notes
place.
are a giant mess, and I hate them. Anyways, here's what I think about covers. If you don't have the original, you aren't going to have another song.
Okay.
And if you can't make it better because it's already sitting there, then you haven't done a good cover. So I don't think any cover's better than the original. It just needs to be different and more up to date.
Okay.
And so, in answer to your question, I believe the bands love it when someone like Van Halen goes and hits their song. Actually, the Kinks in this same time frame were playing their song way more different than in 65 too, because the Kinks never disbanded until 95. So when you see how they played You Really Got Me 10, 15 years later, it was way different. 65 had a real different sound.
Yes, that's what I was.
So that's a good question. So the other thing I wanted to get to was this is David Lee Roth singing lead. What's actually really interesting is Eddie Van Halen started out as the singer of the band, and he just decided, I just want to focus on guitar. I don't want to be playing guitar and trying to sing. And I think it was just a really wise move, you know?
Yeah. Put all your passion into one thing, and then he
Yep.
became the guitar god.
So, this one is Jamie's Crying. And it's always been a hot song. All of these songs that we're playing right now came out on their first album in 1978 called Van Halen.
How original.
Yeah, it was.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And the band was formed in 72? Is that right?
Pretty much. I think they got their name in 74.
Okay.
And they started out as Mammoth.
Oh.
And that's when the four got together. We might as well start right there with our little story.
Okay.
We'll start a little before that. Let's start a lot before that. Let's start. Eddie was born back in somewhere, Scandinavia. I just love the way I can't remember everything, and I always know.
Netherlands, Amsterdam.
Good.
There you go.
Yeah. And he had a Dutch dad and a mom. He had a mom. And she was Indonesian. There we go. Finally found that note.
He had a mom, you don't say.
Yeah, he had a mom and he had a dad. And luckily, they were his mom and dad. No. And he had an older brother, Alex. Well, when Eddie was 7, him, Alex, the mom and dad, came across the ocean. Now, the dad was a classical clarinet saxophonist, pianist.
Oh.
So he was very musically inclined. He even played in the band on the ship the 9 days they came across the ocean.
Only work.
Interestingly, Alex and Eddie had already learned how to play piano, and they were playing at intermission for tips
Oh, wow.
on the ship. So then they get back, and the family moves to Pasadena. So then Eddie and Alex, the older brother, I think he was 3 years older, I don't know. They went with piano lessons and continued and commuted to San Pedro from Pasadena. Some old guy was teaching them. I didn't write his name down. And so these guys actually became accomplished piano players when they were very young. And their dad wanted them to be classical musicians.
Oh my
okay?
goodness.
Well,
That's funny.
they were born, Eddie was born in 55. So now let's say he's 10, so it's 65. What's out? The Kinks, You Really Got Me.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to like, the Beatles are out. Nasty. Those dirty pool table.
Oh.
Anyways, you're not nasty.
Thank you, though.
No, good thought. Nice roll. Anyways, so you can see how you've got the Beatles, you've got the rock revolution, and Eddie's telling his dad, hey, I kind of like rock and roll. So they've got a paper route, well, at least Eddie does, and he buys some drums. He's going to be a drummer. His brother's already got a guitar, and he's going to be a guitarist. And after a while, well, the brother Alex kept sneaking and playing on the guitars and liking it. I mean, on the drums.
Right.
Yeah. And then that kind of bummed Eddie out, but then he kind of started messing with the guitar, and one day he goes, let's just trade. And so his drum set went to Alex, and Alex became a fantastic drummer, and Eddie became a self-taught guitarist. Also, even with all that piano playing, Eddie never learned how to read music.
Oh my gosh.
He would like go listen to recitals of like Bach and Mozart and just absorb it and played by ear.
That's amazing.
I had a brother that played by ear piano, and it's pretty strange.
That's a really unique gift.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Munch.
I'm incapable of reading music myself. I can do one note at a time, reading on the, what is that? The
Music sheet.
yeah, the music sheet. No, what the notes are on. What is that called?
Now the bar. Let's see. What is that called?
Yeah, I think that might be right. But so I can go, okay, here's this note. Every good boy. Okay, this is a D. And then every good. This is an E.
Not quite sight reading.
And each time she has to do that.
I do, yeah.
So it goes a little slowly.
Yes. So so the fact that someone could be able to skip right over that stuff and just create, very
More power
impressive.
to 'em.
Yes.
I learned it the other way back in the day and learned how to read notes, and it just, I don't know the names of them anymore, but like say I'm in church or something, I can see the note and know what to sing.
Can you
know?
match it?
Yeah.
I
yeah.
couldn't do that. If you told me
Yeah.
to do
I
an
mean,
A right now,
if
no.
I think about it, I know which note it is, but I don't ever do that.
Right.
But as far as my piano playing career, I quit thinking that was like not cool, and I thought Herb Alpert was cool. And now we're talking old time music, and so he was my trumpet god, and I went into being a trumpeter.
Okay.
And that really didn't have. Then when the cool bands were all starting to get together, like the local one called Mother's
T
Mattress
can look
Factory.
up
then
Herb Alpert when she gets home today.
But anyways,
Should.
I instead of being an organist in a band, I ended up being nothing. So here I am, a podcaster,
Woo!
and I don't play music, but I do listen to it, and I love it.
You're very good at listening.
Yes, I know how to
Very
listen.
gifted.
Yeah, thank you. So that was Ain't Talking About Love, by the way. Another great song, still from 78. Their first album had so many hits on it that it's like a greatest hits album. It really is. So what have we got now? This is Dance the Night Away. We're to 79.
This is a new album?
Van Halen 2.
Oh,
They were original
they
back
are
then.
so creative with those
And they were original with their name. I don't think
You know
doing that.
what
That
is
thing's
so
loud.
funny? You know how some people have like a stage name or they change
Yeah.
their name when they become famous? I always grew up thinking that was the case with him and their band, but it's not. That's his name. That's his family name.
Well, and according to what I read,
Come from the Netherlands.
yeah.
David Lee Roth came up with the name. He said, this name is going to last. And it's really interesting because that made it so when he left the band, it was still Van Halen. When Sammy Hagar came in, it's still Van Halen. And they worked great that way. So it was
That's
kind of prophetic of Roth to
Yeah.
say, let's
Good
let's
call.
go with that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, another one from that album is the next one.
These are all kind of essential dance music things.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, in fact, this song was their first big hit that broke the top 20, I believe.
Oh.
Let me look at my screwed notes. All I see is beautiful girls. That's not. Oh, there. They aren't in order on my list. It's awesome. Yeah, that's their first top 20 hit, and of course, it's their first pure pop song, this one. The rest was real rock and
Yeah,
roll.
I was gonna say that I noticed this one is a little catchy, but it's still it's still catchy, but it has a different sound than what we've been listening
Yeah.
to thus far.
So, like most bands, they figured out you want to be real popular, you got to do some hits, and then there's other songs on the album that are rockier. So, now we'll go. See, I just got this CD player. Now, we will try to switch songs. There we go. I thought I'd pushed that button the first time. So this one's a little rockier, but it's still a catchy tune, and it was a hit. This is Beautiful Girls. It was wrote about you,
Oh,
Tenacious.
yes. Way before my time.
They knew you were coming along.
Just kidding. Yeah, for all you listeners, I'm really 58. Right?
Those of you on iTunes, you can imagine her age. But if you're watching on YouTube, hopefully our feed works. Nothing's for sure yet. Our YouTube channel has not had us live before. And we hope it's live this time. Is this live or is this Memorex? You are not old enough to know that joke.
I am not.
Memorex wasn't for you, Tenacious. Memorex was an old cassette tape,
Yep.
and their ad was, is this live or is it Memorex?
Oh,
That's right.
wait. No, what's a cassette? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, funny. Don't date me too bad. Oh, I had so many cassettes, but that's another story in another era. I do love CDs better. So much better. Okay, so this is Beautiful Girls.
Is this still on that same Van Halen 2?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we're going to go to Unchained. And let's see if I can switch to that. And then we'll be on a new album. We'll see if I can figure out the name of it. We'll see if I can figure out my remote. My old Sony died on me, and I just installed a new Yamaha 6-disc CD player and today. So it's working. Yay!
Yay!
Okay, so this is Unchained off of Fair Warning. And that was in 1981. By the way, I have mentioned Alex, the drummer.
Yes, the
I've
brother.
mentioned David
David.
Lee Roth, the singer.
Uh-huh.
Eddie, the great guitarist, but I have not mentioned Michael Anthony, and he played a killer bass all the time. He was there at the first. He lasted a long, long time with them, and he did great backing vocals. He's usually who you hear in the backing vocals.
Oh, okay.
And so he's cool.
So he was there from the beginning, and then when did Mark Stone come in?
Mark Stone was at the very first when they were just classmates in high school.
Oh.
And then he did not actually make it. Once Van Halen, their first name was, what did I say, Mammoth?
Yeah.
They actually had a name before that called Broken Combs. And they had a couple others that I didn't write down, and then they ended up with Mammoth. And I think that guy you mentioned didn't make it to Van Halen.
Okay.
Once they actually named it. And the interesting thing about those early days is David Lee Roth was in another band. He had a PA system, and they would rent it from him $10 a night. Well, they decided that'd save him money if he was in their band. So that's, and Mike, and then that Anthony, Michael Anthony, he was with Roth in a band. So it was actually, Van Halen was a consolidation of the two things.
Okay.
And now they had a cheap way to go out and play all the time because one guy had a PA system. They were playing at grade schools. They were playing at malls. They were playing at little bars all over the place.
That's awesome. That was
Now-
very entrepreneurial of them.
Yes. But all the while, Eddie is getting so dang good at guitar that it's unbelievable.
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to tell you what bands in 76, see, these first hits were 78.
Yes.
In 76, okay, no, I don't have it. Oh yeah, here it is. I love my notes. Don't you all love them? They're a mess. All right, that makes it more interesting for everyone but me, and it drives me crazy. All right, and I look like a fool.
Whatever.
But anyways, and when I asked Tenacious if she would be on the podcast, she says, "Well, that's good, but I thought you were a fool."
That didn't.
And I said, "Yeah, that's why I'm doing it." But anyways, okay, so here's a cover song. We're clear into 82 when they decided they had to do Pretty Woman, which was another really old song. But this reached number 12 on the all-time hits list at the time, so it was good for them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an old Roy Orbison song. But okay, their cover songs in 76 would come from the Rolling Stones, an old band Mr. Porter remembers, Robin Trower.
Yes, I do.
Bad Company, an old band I was lucky to see most of the band a couple years ago. Oh
Met the
my
guitarist
gosh.
from Robin Trower
Yeah?
once at a park.
See, that's why it's nice to have this control, because that song was just louder.
Way over here. And it's awesome.
It's really awesome. They did great at their covers. So they were playing covers in 76. Rolling Stones, Robin Trower, Bad Company, David Bowie, Kinks. Maybe a Led Zeppelin song. I'm sure a Cream song, because his favorite you've heard of Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
That was his guitar god that he loved, but it was from the early days of Cream, and he knew every note of every Cream song and could play them all. And so, and he of course listened to Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, the guitar god. So we're at 76, West Hollywood. They're playing in a bar called, well, they played in Whiskey A Go Go, which is over in L.A., and everybody's heard of that. But I didn't write down the name of that bar here. Oh, the Starwood. And they, like I said, my notes are, why wasn't that earlier? But anyways, one guy seen him, and he was like, this is impressive. He goes to Gene Simmons from Kiss, the bass player, right? Was Gene the bass player? I'm going to say he's bass player. If you want to hate me, whatever. I've listened to a lot of Kiss, but I'm not. They all stick their tongues out and act weird,
I know.
right?
I just did that when you even said them, just like habitually.
Gene Simmons had the longest tongue in the world. I think that was recorded.
Oh my
No,
heck.
I made it up. But
He
his
did.
tongue
Was
was
recorded
long.
that his tongue was really
Okay.
loud.
He is the bassist, though. I
Yes.
just checked
Okay.
for
Great.
you, so we don't get
Modern day
hate mail.
phones. Modern day woman. Anyway, now we're already to another song. And what is it? Well, it is Beat It. That's not Van Halen. Why is it on
I
here?
was sitting here going,
Who did Beat It?
Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
the OG.
Why do you think that's on here? Listen to the guitar.
Because he
It's
did
Eddie
it?
Van
Oh my
Halen. They recruited him.
gosh.
It's actually the most famous song he played guitar on.
Oh my gosh.
He
I'm,
has a
I'm
number
looking
one
at Mr.
song.
P over there going, listen here. You put the wrong
Yeah,
artist in the
Mr. Porter. Why is Michael Jackson on
Oh
here?
my gosh. That's
While
such a
he's
cool
playing,
fact.
I'll get on with the. So one guy says, Gene, you've got to see these guys. Another night, he drags Gene over to this Starwood bar. And Gene's like, by then,
Eddie.
had developed this thing that was called tapping the guitar. That's it, Mr. Silent.
Yes.
And basically, I'm not a guitarist, but what it means is he can use both hands anywhere on that guitar seamlessly. They're both going like crazy. It's something Page was doing, but tapping the guitar is what Ed
He'll be
came
doing
up
it
with
here in a minute.
A new way of and actually it got named from what he was doing.
Right.
It actually had been going on over 100 years back in the Caribbean or somewhere. But
He kind
the
of coined
way
it.
he honed it in to where it became a whole new style. Gene Simmons, who was in Kiss, said, I've never seen anybody play guitar like this, ever. And he went to him afterwards and signed him on a deal.
Wow.
And they were going to make an album, and they did Van Halen did 29 songs on a demo, recorded it. It was pretty much finished. It was in the studio, it was edited, and then Kiss told Gene Simmons he couldn't do that, and they didn't like it, and Van Halen was not going to go anywhere, and it got dropped, and the whole thing was done and over. And then later in 76 at that same bar, the Starwood, another guy from Warner Brothers said to the president and another guy that's the producer, you got to go see this band. They come in. There's only
There's
8.
Eddie really coming in strong here.
Yeah. There's only 8 or 9 people in the audience. 2 more counting these guys. So 11 people in the audience. And Van Halen was rocking it like they were in the LA Forum.
Wow.
And the Warner Brothers execs and the president said, you're in. They gave him a 2-record contract. Van Halen 1, Van
And
Halen
Van
2.
Halen
There you
2.
go.
There's the...
So that's all the old stuff I got on him. But it's pretty interesting, isn't
That
it?
is.
I mean,
That
it's
is
like
really
you've got to be in the right place. The
right
music
time.
business is so weird because you can have all the talent in the world, but if you aren't discovered by somebody else,
Oh, yeah.
you don't go anywhere.
And it wasn't like today where you can post yourself on YouTube
Yeah.
and hope
Yeah.
Usher comes across you and finds you, like
Yeah.
Justin Bieber.
I was gonna say, isn't that who found Beepster?
Yeah, the
Now,
Biebs.
Beepster actually has a cool song right now called "Lonely"
I
that I
heard
actually
it.
think is awesome.
Yeah, he does pretty good.
It gives me all the feels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel sorry for the Beebs. I think he's singing about himself.
I think
All that
so,
money
too.
and no one to call.
Mm-hmm.
He could call me. I'd interview him.
Yeah, I'd take
Would you
some
come
of that
to the
off
interview?
of his hands. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's a pretty good looking dude. He's kind of grown up a little. Seems to have.
Yeah, but he's married, and if he came to the
Is he married?
thing and she was doing the interview,
Yeah.
he'd probably want to leave.
Yeah,
for
that'd probably
Tenacious
be
D.
Yeah, I'm
just
so sure.
That tractor beam couldn't put that.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Anyway, Beebster, if you're out there listening,
I'm a cougar.
We're ready
compared
for
to
you.
him. But I think that I think we skipped an album. Didn't he, in 1980, have Women and Children First? And on that one, he had the Romeo Delight, which was in the intro on that was really kind of iconic on his the tapping that you were talking about.
yeah, and you're right. We skipped that album because there was no radio hits, and I'm basically playing his radio hits
Yeah, I think
just for fun because he
something
has so
about-
much music, and I think they're all so good.
Yeah, no judgment. I find it
Well, he has so
interesting
many
in
great
the-
songs.
Well, and back then, it was really, really common for songs to not be, 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah.
They were, because there's so many parts where the guitar goes off riff, and that on the radio today is too long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. But well, as you listen to theirs, I'm not good with the lingo on like bridge or overture or whatever it's called. But they have a really long intro.
Yeah.
They have a chorus, then a really long, awesome guitar solo. Then they kind of wrap it up, and then it goes out with more guitar. And I think that was really popular, kind of among all the bands at the time.
Yeah.
And it just didn't. That makes sense of the stuff that didn't get on the radio. Am I way off the mark?
No, you did good because I had this list of their albums, and I'm positive you're right. I was just going to check it.
Yeah,
But
no,
we'll
I
go
just
with
have it
that.
listed here
Yeah.
in order. Because then you went to Fair Warning, which was great, and then you jumped to 1982. That album's Diver Down.
Yes.
Okay.
Am I too far away from the mic? All right, so we're listening to Panama now. And that one is from what album?
1980.
Yeah, so they had an album called 1984. Panama reached number 13 now when I'm saying number 13, I don't mean on rock list. This is over all the songs in the world.
Like top Billboard.
Like Billboard 100.
Yes.
So that's always a great accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
Their albums, they were doing multi-platinum, which means millions of copies each
I was
one.
going to say, don't you have to be 1 million to be platinum?
Yeah.
So multi, that's great.
And two of them actually reached 10 million each, which is diamond.
Oh.
And so I don't know. I hate my notes. I got to do better next time. But anyway, they had two. One of them was probably Roth's, and one of them was probably Sammy Hagar's. So after Panama, we're going to go to their number one song. T's heard it before.
Yes.
It is good. It's very nice.
I love that. That could have been you on the keyboards.
It could
You
have been.
gave up for trumpeteering.
I think a joke that is good. Yes. I've always quite hated myself for that. But I just kept going to this lady for piano lessons and she didn't have me playing rock and roll.
Right.
She had me playing crap in my point of view. Right?
Right.
And so I was like, there's
I'm
no
outta
future
here.
in this.
Yes.
But see, Eddie, he was playing piano, but he had more music in him, and he knew, okay, rock is the music of the future, at least for me, because I love rock. So he incorporated it. The other interesting thing about him is all these songs we've been listening to haven't had him playing piano or organ
Right.
yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because Roth didn't want it. He didn't like it. It just needed to be this guitar, drums, him singing. And we'll get to the song where all of a sudden the organ comes out. Well, it's this one. Listen.
Oh, there you go.
I was thinking of I'll Wait, another big one that has, but this is definitely Eddie playing organ. Sometimes he had a mini moog he'd play. I read one part, he had all these different things he was playing.
Yeah.
Very amazing. So, I just had one little note here, out of place, but not out of time. When their first album went gold, they were over in Aberdeen, Scotland, and they heard their album went gold, and they partied like crazy, and then they trashed their room. Isn't that rock
In
star?
true fashion.
Yes.
Yes. That is how it's done.
Yeah.
That's so great.
And while he's playing great organ, I want to talk a little bit about his guitar.
Let's talk a lot of
He named
it.
it Frankenstein.
Uh-huh.
And he actually built it.
Yes. From
He-
a Fender and a Gibson.
Yes. Yes, he had a $50 part, he had a $75 part, and in my notes, I had, he had a $50 body, a $75 neck. And you named what they are, but I don't know which.
Oh,
Okay? And then he had a single, now, people out there can correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know how to say it, but I'm going to say he had a single humbucker pickup and a crucial tremolo bar. That'll mean something to somebody. Right?
Humbuckers, right?
Ooh.
Okay. What I like is it was one color, I think it was black, so then he painted it all red, and then he did this crazy crisscrossed black and white stripes on it. But that wasn't the end of it.
Right.
He had traffic reflectors on the back of it. And this guitar went everywhere with him. There would be times he'd play other guitars, but this was his baby,
Yeah.
you know?
Now, this isn't the one that he donated, Ooh.
That's his brother, probably.
Yep, this is Alex here playing the drums. And I know this song without looking at my notes. Hot for Teacher.
Yes.
I was telling T about my little experience about the same age. I was hot for a teacher, but we won't get into that.
You know, I used to teach college, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have like these young, fresh out of high school boys. No, it was like 60-year-old men going back to college.
Boo!
And it's kind of weird to try and make people listen to you when they think they know more about the world than you do, which was probably true. So
Wasn't there?
this was not my
There
theme
weren't
song.
any youngsters?
Uh-uh.
Well, that's strange. I love this part of the song. You
Me
can just
too.
see them
Yep.
sitting in class, playing, waiting for the teacher to come in. I wonder what kind of weird teacher we're gonna have today.
Uh-huh.
know?
That is everybody's conversation. First day of school
Yep.
or semester.
Yeah, which teacher's gonna wear the outfit that they probably wore in this video? I don't recall it, but a little bit. Exactly.
Well, it was probably a Miss America teacher.
Yeah.
Well, and I just barely watched the video a few days ago. And yeah, all of a sudden she comes out wearing like a Miss America swimsuit, even has, some sort of banner.
Oh, huh.
But I took it to be like, okay, she comes out dressed good, she's beautiful. They're young boys,
Yeah.
they see Miss America.
Uh-huh. It's kind of like the 80s version of Stacy's mom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this is off that same album, right?
What album are we on?
The 1984.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is David Lee Roth's last album until the very end of Van Halen when he comes back.
Oh.
But we'll get into that.
Okay.
So
he had many guitars that he did that, what you were talking about, that whole crisscross with the tape and painting them and stuff. He did that to a ton of them.
he did?
Yeah. But that iconic red and black and white, with this whole pandemic that we've got going on, I've seen quite, and it might be in honor of his passing, I've seen quite a few people's masks be after his guitar with that little
Cool.
tapey look.
Well, he actually, a replica was made and it was put in the Smithsonian.
And I'm sure that he has a
and
line
then
of
the
guitars.
original
Yes.
guitar,
Yep.
the actual original is in New York in the, what's the big one there? I've walked through it. Great. I knew I'd remember it. It's not the Smithsonian, Metropolitan.
Oh.
So the real one is there. I may have seen it when I was there because he retired in 2015. The cancer was starting to make it just too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad. But anyways, I just love this song. They're sitting here talking, just being bad little boys.
It just has that sound of like eyebrows raising and
Yeah.
thoughts a brewing.
Yep. My teacher I was hot for taught me the words to Sounds of Silence, and I still know them. She was that into it, man. She was English lit, and she's like, this is one of the greatest songs ever made, and we learned those words. So
You're
not
like,
only
I'm
was
listening,
she
I'm
hot,
listening.
she was smart.
A double whammy.
Yeah. Another remote I just found. Oh, wrong one? Well, we'll just let this song end with his great guitar licking. He licked his guitars much as I lick a sucker. Now we're on to I'll Wait. See how this one's really the organ, you notice it. This one, Roth just didn't want this song to even be made. And he says, I don't like it. And then it became, what, number 13 on the charts. And a really big song. I think it won a major video award, VMAs. I don't want to look at my notes and try to figure out what it did. It did stuff, believe me. I'm the captain. What can I say?
That's right.
I'm ill prepared. There was other things that happened.
There's just so much information.
There is, and you're reading it and you're thinking, I know this. I remember this. And then you get here and you're like, I'm a deer in the headlights and I don't know anything.
It's the cameras, huh?
But so,
And this is on that same album too.
yes. And then Roth cuts out. There became, as with many frontmen and guitarists, there became the I'm cooler than you thing. They don't want to say that's what it was, so I'm saying that's what it was because they're both talented, you know, and you just have different ideas and they get in fights and it just got too much. And so Roth left. Interestingly, then they decided they would hire Patti Smythe from, what was she?
Patti Smythe from whatever she was from, I forgot.
The Smithereens or
Yeah, the
something. That's
Smithereens,
not
yeah.
right. That's close, but
Yeah.
that's Scandal. She was from Scandal.
Oh, Scandal, yeah.
I swear there must have been a band called the
There
Smithereens.
was. Yeah, there was.
But
a band
anyway,
called
she
that.
was from Scandal. I
Scandal.
get her mixed up with another lady of about that time.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, she luckily elected not to, because then they ran into a singer that was already doing great, Sammy Hagar. He had been in Montrose. He had a couple of hits. I Can't Drive 55,
Yeah, right.
another one. And they, interestingly enough, had opened for Montrose in the old days. These guys opened for Black Sabbath. These guys opened for Journey. They opened for everybody back in the old days before they were big.
Mm-hmm.
But so they didn't really know Sammy. Somebody introduced them, said to Sammy and said to them, "You need each other." And it was amazing what happened, because
Some ways I think he sings a little better than
Oh,
Roth.
yeah.
I don't knock Roth, but
plus he plays guitar. He went
Yeah.
in saying, "Okay, I'll play rhythm guitar," so
Yeah.
he can do guitar good.
he can really belt.
Yeah. And so we might as well switch to him. I don't know if I'll know the right button. Yep. Why does that not work for me every time? There we go. What do we have here? This is Why Can't This Be Love?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is Why Can't This Be Love. And now, are we into 86?
We are.
Or
Mhm.
yes,
Yep.
yes. We've got, and this album was called 5150. That's actually the name of their studio. And I didn't know that for a while when I was researching them. You know, there's a lot of bands I know better than Van Halen. But as far as what I've heard on the radio, I've heard as much Van Halen as anybody.
Yeah.
Because they brought rock and roll back. I mean, hard rock. They brought it main stage.
Yeah.
And they're famous for that.
Yeah.
And but what's amazing is here they go through this major frontman change, and they're just as big as ever, and they've got their own songs for him. And the more albums they did, they tried to do very few of the old songs, because that was Roth. And there would be some of the most biggest ones, like say Jump, they would play it, you know. But the further along they got, the less of those they played. And it really worked out fine.
I think that'd be hard as an original fan, like someone who's been there from the beginning.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to have a band member change.
It is. Now, a lot of that has gone on, like, say, with Journey
Yeah,
and different things. But here's
Chicago.
the deal. I've gone and seen Journey since Steve Perry left them.
Me
Not
too.
the same. I'm sorry. People that think it's the same are not watching the same thing I was. Because I've seen Journey in the old days, and I went and saw him with two different singers. And it's not there. Yeah, they should keep playing, but now they're a cover band.
Yeah.
But Van Halen, with their switch and their new music, they were still, so I think if they loved Van Halen and they loved Eddie, I think Sammy was a good fit. And they probably before long realized, okay, it's different, but this guy's good. They're still good.
Good.
Because they did a new decade, you know? 10 years with one, 10 with Sammy. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
After about 10 years, 8 or 9, then the front man and Eddie start fighting again. And from all accounts, Eddie was a super nice guy. Really cool guy.
Yeah. Humble too.
You know, he was married to Valerie Bertinelli. She has nothing to say but good about him.
Yeah.
He was, you know, he did end up with a tough alcohol addiction,
Oh, yeah, that's
smoking, bad. And she finally left him mostly for that, really. They had, after they were married 10 years, They had a son, named him Wolfgang,
Yeah.
and later on he became their bass player. So here's another just great song. Dreams. That's the one I said, when you're putting Dreams on, they really have one called Dreams, because I was thinking of Fleetwood Mac. That's why I wrote that to you, so you wouldn't. But then I was like, why did I write that later?
I see. Yeah, I remember that
was
note.
like, what the heck? Why did I write that? But literally, a lot of their songs, I'd hear them tons of times, know them well. But since I wasn't buying the albums, I didn't know the names of, like, Dreams.
Right.
This song. You know, a lot of them I'd know the names.
Right.
Sometimes I don't know my own name.
Only when you're at a rock concert, right?
Yeah.
Having too much of a good time.
I went to a Journey concert once after Steve Perry left. Got my ears blasted out, standing too close
Yeah.
to the speakers.
I think she was talking about the hallucinogenics that you
That
ate.
is what I was talking about. I did see Journey with Arnell. I think I was probably too young.
Were you on a hallucinogenic?
Nope. Dang it.
Yeah.
No rock concerts complete, right?
And Arnell tries, and he does good. But he strains. I see him straining all the time
I
to
think he
hit
runs
notes
out of juice.
that Steve Perry just did effortlessly.
Right.
But you've still got a great guitarist. You've still got them songs. I'm not saying they should quit playing, but because they shouldn't. That music's their lives.
Right.
Right? But Van Halen seriously made a new band that was on top.
That's
still.
Amazing.
It is.
To do a switch like that and still thrive.
Right, because I mean, I've seen Foreigner since Lou Gramm. Not the same energy. The guy sounded as good, even better, because the last times I saw Lou Gramm, he was struggling. There was times he'd go down an octave to sing some of the notes, but the energy. This new guy could sing the notes. It just wasn't as good. I'm sorry, but I still love Foreigner together doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
But this band knew how to turn the corner. So thank heavens they didn't get Patti Smythe. Not that I don't like her,
Yeah.
but they always had a man lead singer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It would have changed it for sure.
I typically like female singers better than men when it comes right down to it. Because they're prettier. And they sound good to the ear.
Yes. And they're prettier.
And they're prettier. Wait, I digressed. Back to Van Halen.
So was this a top? Was Dreams a top?
Dreams made it to number 22.
Okay.
And Why Can't This Be Love? That didn't make it into the top 20. The next one, Love Walks In, was also number 22. So there's their first album, and they got 3 big hits on it, you know? So that's cool.
Yeah, that's quite an
See
accomplishment.
if I can hit the right button. This one, just right when it starts, I just fall in love with this. But notice he's got that organ going like crazy. They really did change their music up. But he still had lots of songs. He was doing guitar solos and different things. They just aren't the hits. And I felt like hitting their hits because, man, they turned the radio upside down. They brought rock and roll mainstream again. And these guys sold 56 million albums in the US and 80 million in the world, making them the 20th most best-selling artist in forever.
All time. Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
plus, since I was buying albums of Foreigner and Styx and Led Zeppelin and everybody else I was into, man, I heard so much Van Halen, I didn't feel like I needed to buy their albums. Now I feel like maybe I should, especially their new one.
I think I had one cassette with them. I forgot which one it was. It was probably the first one when I was living down in Utah.
Oh, yeah.
Doing a lot of that.
Living the rock and roll life.
Yep. That was the thing to do back in the day.
That was very, yes. That was just part
And then
of
it never really went away, rock and roll.
And interestingly, they never sang about love till 84. It was always sex, women, and even a car thrown in here or there. They even got criticized for it, and he wrote Panama, which was about a car. I always thought it was about a woman.
Yeah, not Pamela.
No, I knew it. It wasn't Pamela Anderson. I knew they were saying Panama. Actually, there was a short period of time, I hate to admit it, I thought they were saying Canada. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah?
I'm real. So that
I
was
always
the
just
woman.
figured they were
Okay.
singing about being in Panama, the country.
I
So
know
yeah, I
they
didn't have
were.
anything.
It was about a car.
That's all I bought.
And I don't know what
I guess
one.
I wasn't reading
I'm
between the
sorry.
lines.
Yeah, no,
Huh, Mr. P?
We're gonna switch now.
Mr. P.
Mr. P.
Love came walking in, and now Love is walking
Mr.
out.
P and Miss T.
That's right.
Well, I thought it was about something they
Sex
ate
and- sex
since
and
their
dinner.
album was called OU812, but I don't think it was talking about dinner.
Sex and dinner, don't they always go together?
Yeah, you always need a little snack, at least, huh?
Yeah,
Like a cigarette, or a snack, or a
I'll
cupcake.
turn it up.
right.
We'll see if you can feel the sex in it. I can't even find the right remote. This one did come in quieter. I just love this song, the way it sounds.
Your dog likes it.
And I didn't introduce Boston. He's been here for every podcast, and he's here again. Lately, he's had some liver damage we're trying to repair, but he plans on being here for the next podcast, too.
Liver damage from
That's what we
rockin'
don't
hard.
know. Yeah,
Yep, yep.
I think he ate one, too, but we don't know what he ate. Him and I were listening to the album OU812, and we both ate something, and his didn't agree with him.
He looks very soothed over
I
there.
want to talk a little bit while this is going about smashing pumpkins and not going out and just smashing pumpkins. Do you know the band?
Heard of him.
Yeah. So the lead singer, Billy Corrigan, he decided to do an interview for, what was it called? Guitar Rock or something. Anyway, something. And he decided, I've got to interview Eddie Van Halen. And he hoped, now I've got to turn it down. Feel like I'm talking over Sammy. So he thought it'd last an hour. It lasted 4.5 hours because Eddie's so cool. And they started talking, and Eddie started smoking a cigarette, drinking, laughing, and playing fantastic guitar all at once.
Oh.
And that's when this guy, who also played guitar, but had watched and learned from Eddie, that's when he said, I learned something. I learned that there's people that can play guitar, but there's people that are just naturals. And this dude is an absolute natural. And he said, what's really cool is we were talking about one thing, and then he was playing all this. Then he said, can you play? And I go, okay. So I'm talking like I'm Billy. So he picks up his guitar and he plays, and he knew he wasn't as good. And Eddie goes, well, that's nice. You're good. And then they talked on a different level. And he said, I just got in so well with this guy, and he's so amazing and so down to earth. You know, I just wanted to mention that. He, like Valerie Bertinelli said, I mean, some of the very best years of her life was being married to him. And I always thought, well, it was probably pretty scary too, because he was out partying and raising hell, and
Yeah.
you know, but he was a really good guy, besides being a rock god.
Had to grow up a little too.
Yeah.
You know, I just remembered, because she's a chef, right?
Yeah.
So this song is about dinner. She probably was cooking a
She was an actress too. Do you remember
gourmet every night.
her? Is she a chef?
Yeah,
She was an
In
actress
later
too.
life.
Yeah, in later life.
She was famous for a TV sitcom. And
She's in like One Day at a Time or
yeah,
one of
something
those.
like that.
okay.
Can't remember which one.
I watched it all the time. But I'm actually really too young. I must have been watching repeats.
Her and Mackenzie Phillips, the two of them were
Yes.
in something.
The tall, skinny one.
Yes.
And Valerie was always and still is so beautiful.
Yeah, she is. She was in the Weight Watchers too, I think, rap for a little while.
Oh, yes.
years ago.
I think
Yeah. That's
So-
probably what
Sounds
led her into the
familiar.
cooking thing.
We've got to
Yeah.
hurry and move along because of our time restraints. We are going to go to our last song now, called Right Now.
Ooh.
And right now we've got to try to finish up. And so what's really interesting is they had two other lead singers. One of them only was in the band a few days. They hired him, they loved him, and then all of a sudden they hired another guy. And that was, his last name was Sharon. And at the same time, they were going, they were in talks with David Lee Roth coming back,
Oh.
but that didn't materialize. But he did come and tour, but then they did an album called Van Halen 3 with the Sharon guy.
Okay.
It seems like it was Michael, but my notes are killing me today. But anyway, that album only reached gold status, which for them was really bad, because almost all their albums were multi-platinum.
Yeah.
And so then down the road he went, but he actually left on super good terms. They stayed friends. The one that was the third singer that was only in for a few days, he stayed friends. And he would talk to Eddie whenever there was a breakup. There was times Roth would come back and do concerts or big gigs. There was an 80 gig tour Sammy went on. There was always talks of, let's do another album. You'd never know which one was going to be next with them. They finally did do a new album in 2015 or 2012. Do you have that there?
So this, 2012, A Different Kind of Truth. By the way, I think that guy's name was Gary Sharon.
Gary Sharon. Yep. And he actually had been from another band and could sing good. The other guy that was only in their band a few days actually went even and did a workout with Valerie Bertinelli. She's like, Eddie just loves you so much and everything. He goes home, he's like, I'm in the band. This seems weird. And then all of a sudden he sees something with the other guy and he's like, I guess I'm not in the band. I wish I could remember his name, but my notes, which I thought were good, suck. Anyways, this new album from 2012, Roth was on it again, hadn't been with them for 28 years. Wolfgang, their new bassist, he'd been with them a few years, but it's the only album he's been on, and it did well and was critically The critics
Acclaimed.
liked it, and I want to buy that album. I tend to like new music. Like, I just love new Deep Purple. Fantastic what they do. And so I'm excited. This one's had no radio play.
The gear they use to record.
Yeah,
these things
and I
these days
just
is
feel
so good,
like
too.
I'm going to like this album. I haven't heard a song from it. So, with that,
That one was released February 7th, 2012. So we're like right on the anniversary pretty much.
we are. So
Wow.
I'm going to go to Amazon and tell it, I want my Prime.
And then it'll show up in 10 days.
Yes. So, anyways, it's been fun being with y'all. Fun with you.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
glad that you were on top of things and made up
Yeah,
for
she
my
was.
horrible
Oh,
notes.
whatever.
One last thing, I saw one video at the front of one of their songs that we played where they were all dressed the same and they were walking in and they go, let's say hello. And they went, hello, 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 hello.
Like a
And
barber
It
shop
was like the
quartet.
Three Stooges.
Oh my
It was an
God.
imitation. I just love that. These guys were so smart.
Yeah.
I mean, they were
Or, no,
fun.
we can do it on our goodbye.
Let's do it. We've got to go now. Our time's up. So,
Goodbye.
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 And there's one more song. What's this one?
That's funny because we ended right at a perfect spot. And now this sounds like the credit music.
Yeah, it does. Roll credits.
What song is this?
I don't know.
Is this right now? And I had.
I can't remember. I got a mistake on there.
It's not a mistake. I'm mistaken.
The piano sounds really good.
Yeah, it does.
It is right now. Well, what did we have before? I've been listing the songs wrong. Anyway, another great song by Van Halen. We'll call him this time Van Hagar. How's that?
There you go.
So another goodbye, Boston. Bart, goodbye. All right. It's been fun being with you guys. And hopefully on my next podcast, I know a little bit more, but I'll tell you what, it was a sad passing of
Yes.
Eddie, 65 years young, and we're going to miss him. But he does have his music there to live on forever.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Mr. Porter. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, Tenacious T.
Thank you. I hope to see you again.
Bye.
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 It's standing on